There's little doubt that Kassai is currently the most effective of the four warriors. Is it just because of her free second swing? I mean, yeah, but that's not the primary reason why she's so good. Kassai's ability to make copper on hit leading up to a blood on her hands presents a must-block scenario for the opponent, which feeds warriors' strengths. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, Flesh and Blood folks. Welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. Thanks for checking in today. Talking Kassai. I know, me talking Kassai. It's shocking, right? But the inspiration for this video today was really kind of a response video in a way to last week's video on why I thought warriors ready to break out in either the next set or future sets if they get a couple tools. And you know what? Actually, in fact, I have that image loaded still. Yeah, there we go. We see it there on the side now. And again, you can go back and watch the video. We're not going to rehash the whole thing, but in that specifically, I was talking about some of the challenges that warrior faced. And Kassai, I think, basically takes two of those head on, which is why she is good. Right now, again, I want to be very clear. Her second swing coming for free is very, very, very good, right? In of itself, she solves the quote-unquote Dorinthea problem kind of in two ways. First off, her first swing doesn't have to hit, but also she, one of Dorinthea's problems, like let's say you do a classic Dorinthea play, which is Warrior's Valor, Dawnblade. Well, you want that on a 3-pitch, you want that resource floating for your second swing on the back. So really, unless you have Iron Song Response, you're going to have another pitch card too. And Kassai, obviously, with having the back on the free, she solves it, right? So everyone gets that. That's why she's good, okay? But another reason why she's good is, let's again talk kind of those two concerns, right? One of the things about Reprise and on hits there was that because Warrior in of itself doesn't really have on hits, there's not a ton of reason in many cases, there's not always a reason, let's say it that way, for opponents to block Warrior, which then actually hurts Warrior because then Reprise isn't on, all right? Gives Warrior less value, all right? And then the thing on charging that we talked about was really why, right, charging right now is kind of bad, and that's because I believe that as it being a storage mechanic, it could get pretty crazy and pretty busted pretty quick if it was a little better. So I think that's why it is where it is. All right, so those were the two kind of problem statements to Warrior. And Kassai, I believe, takes those head on, specifically because of Kassai's ability to generate copper on hit, which then is fueling that blood on her hands that will come at some point, which will either completely swing tempo or just outright win the game, depending on the other tools she has in her card hand or in your card hand at the time. Because the copper effectively is a storage mechanic, right? In terms of how it's used by Kassai once you store up 6 or less, right? And again, I'll link another video actually, by the way, which talking about how blood on her hands can still help you swing tempo even if you don't have the magic number of 6. But hopefully you see what I'm driving at in terms of those two concerns, right? Playing against Kassai, one of the most effective way to play against Kassai is to stop her from generating copper, right? Try and generally limit her if you can to a maximum of 1 copper per turn, if not completely shut her down. But what does that do? That forces blocking, which feeds out for blood specifically, or puncture, which puncture is not technically a reprise, but it's effectively that same type of thing, right? It's a 1 for 3 or more if they actually block with equipment, right? So again, you're forcing those blocks by just swinging and trying to generate copper, right? So you don't even have to do anything extra to quote unquote force those blocks, because Kassai will naturally have that on hit, which then gives her into my next point, the storage mechanic. I mean, now I'm going to make analogies here that I realize don't map exactly 1-to-1, but functionally you can understand what I'm driving at. Compare Blood in Her Hands to Lumina Ascension. Functionally, they're very similar in what they do. Now, sure, Lumina you can do multi-Lumina and just go crazy, and obviously Lumina is better from a pure setup. I don't know that it is better, but like you can do crazier things with Lumina than you can on Blood on her hands, no question there. And actually, but the ease of getting Blood on her hands probably makes it better, probably, right? Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with that. I think you could go either way, but just because the ceiling is higher doesn't, I think Blood on her hands is better. But hopefully you see what I'm driving at here, right? Is the reason that Kassai it's not just the one resource. Yes, she's very resource effective for what she's trying to do, but her ability in of itself, which generates the on hits, creates a situation where she's the warrior that has on hits. Now, that's not entirely true because Dawnblade has on hits, right? And Dorinthea has on hits. But it's different in this case. I believe it's different. It's not completely different. And that's why I said, everything won't map necessarily 1-to-1 here. But the reason that Kassai is so effective in what she does is she doesn't have to do anything else to threaten that. Even if the first one misses, she can still threaten copper. So you have to consider both blocks, or she'll keep doing the copper thing. And she presents a lot of hard decisions for your opponent, which that's why she's so good. And it's why I believe she's going to be, I think she will probably be the one to L out next. Probably she'll LL out, Living Legend out, probably at the same time as around Kano based on how the cycles go. But we'll see what comes in the future. We will have Dusk Till Dawn come out, I believe, before we get significant more Blitz points. Probably won't be until the fall that we get another skirmish season, right? So we'll see what the state looks like, the state of the game, state of Blitz looks like at that point. But Kassai's very, 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 very good. I went 4-0 with her last night in an armory. The hardest match I had all night was the Kassai Mirror. And she's just very, very, very good. Not saying she's unbeatable. Not what I'm saying at all. But compared to, at least in that format, right, compared to the other warriors, she's the best one. I don't think there's much of a question there. And I honestly, again, we've talked about it a lot before. If you were to port her over to CC, you would have a very, very, very strong warrior at your disposal. And she would be probably too good in that format, just with the value she'd create over the game. So anyway, that's my piece today, right? That is why Kassai is so good, is because her ability solves both of the warrior class challenges by doing nothing. Right? Just by swinging twice, which you wanted to do anyway. So anyway, let me know in the comments if you agree, if you disagree, what your take is. Anything else you saw during Pro Tour weekend, which you thought was cool. But anyway, thanks for watching, and go Commando.